Yeah, welcome back to my class. Today we want to look at inter-thread communication. That means how threads can communicate with one another or with each other. Now, to do that, I'm going to use one more synchronization mechanism, which is what? Conditions. So that is what I want to use to demonstrate this inter-thread communication. So what is it I want to write? I want to write a program where you have, let's go to a production center. So you have the producer and then you have the consumer. So the producer is going to produce maybe 10, 15 items. And then the consumer is just going to display those 15 items, right? That is what I want to demonstrate. So we'll use a condition object to access certain method in the condition class that will perform this between these two threads. So without wasting much time, let's import our thread, our threading module. So I'll say import threading, right? Import our threading module. Then I'm going to declare a global variable, and it's that variable that will manipulate. So I will declare a global variable, and I will call it counter. Then I will assign initial value to it as what? 0. So this is what I want to manipulate. So I'm going to now define the first task, which is the consumer task. So, and that is a function. So def consumer. Now this consumer is going to expect one parameter, and that is what? The condition variable parameter. That's what it will expect. So I will call it CV, right? CV. Now, this condition is a class in the threading module. And then I'm creating an object for this class that will instantiate this class, which is what? This CV. Now, the reason why I'm creating this CV is because I need certain method, behavior inside this class that this object will implement. And those are what? Wait. The wait method and the notify method. Notify method. So I need these two methods from this wait class, from this condition class, I mean. So I have to create an object that will instantiate this class. And then using that object, I will now be able to access these two methods to use in my script. That is why I'm importing threading. And also to be able to create thread, right? This. So inside this consumer, is expecting this object, CV. Then it will go in. Now, when it goes in, it will have to obtain a lock, which is this CV will obtain a lock to be able to do something about this counter. So I will say with CV. Now, why am I using with? If I don't want to use this with, this is a context manager. What this is simply saying is that you automatically acquire the lock and automatically release the lock. If I don't use this one, it means I will have to create my lock and manually acquire the lock by saying lock.acquire method. Then I will also, after my work, I will say lock.release. Now, in a situation where I forget to release the lock, it means that that resources is going to be held. And any other thread that attempts to access it, there will be what? A deadlock. So I don't want that situation to occur. So I'm going to use this with CV. So this will automatically acquire and then automatically release the lock, even if there's an error. So with CV, go in and print consumer waiting, right? Consumer waiting. Then here I will say CV.wait. So I have used the CV, which is the object of the class that I've created, right? I've used it now to access the wait method that is in this class. I have not created the object yet, but I'm just showing you because I'm creating my task. I am writing the program. So this is the program. Once I load this program to memory, it becomes a process. And then the thread will carry out the task. So the task that the thread will perform is what I'm creating now. So since I already know what I want to do, I'm writing this, but I will explain everything. So c dot weight. Then print the value of counter is, right, counter. Okay, so I want to print out the value of counter, which is what? This global variable. So I finished my consumer task. Now I want to create the producer task. So I'll say def producer is also expecting the CV. Now, in this one, because I'm going to use this producer to change the value of this counter, I have to bring it into this as a local variable. So since this variable is a global variable, I will use the word global counter. So I'll bring it in. This is to indicate to this producer that I want you to alter the value of this counter. I didn't do this for the consumer because the consumer is just going to read the counter. It's not going to change anything, just going to read it. So global counter, then also obtain the lock with CV, right? Then go in and do counter plus assign sum, right? Range 1, 6, right? So now what am I doing here? This range, is it range 1, 6 is the same thing as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is what that range is. Now I'm summing them. So 1 plus 2 is what? 3 plus 3, 6 plus 4, 10 plus 5, 15. So I have incremented my counter to what? To 15. That is what my counter is. Now, I want this producer to notify this consumer, right, that I am done producing. So display the output. So I will come here and I will say cv dot notify. So I'm calling this notify method, right? I have done that here now. So my producer is done. Now I want to create the object, which is this CV object that I'm using, this condition variable. I want to create that object from this conditioned class. So I will come here and I will say CV trading dot condition. So I'm calling the constructor. So I'm calling the condition constructor, right? I'm calling the condition constructor to create a condition object that this CV is going to reference. So I'm using that object now here, which is this CV, to access the wait method. And I'm also using it here to access the notify method. So you can see where this CV is coming from. This CV, this is where I'm creating it. Now I've done that. So I want to create my thread that will perform the task. So I will say consumer thread, right? Then I'm calling my trading module, trading dot thread. So this one is what? I'm calling the thread constructor to create a thread object that this consumer thread is going to reference. All right. So target, what task is he expected to perform? This consumer thread is expected to perform this one. So target is consumer. Then the argument, the ask is what? This CV. So CV. Now, because it's a tuple, I will have to put comma here. Then I will close this and then I will close this. So I will repeat same thing for the producer thread. Producer underscore thread. Then I'll call the thread constructor. Threading dot thread, right? Then target equals to what? Producer, comma, the ax, which is the argument, CV. All right. So I have created my two thread, consumer thread and producer thread, that are going to use this condition to perform these two tasks. That is what I have done. Okay, now I want to start my thread. This place is low. You might not be able to see. So here I am going to wipe this off. I'm going to wipe this and then this. Okay. So now what I'm doing here, what I want to write here should be under this place. But because you're not going to see it. So I'm saying consumer underscore thread dot start. I'm calling the start method. Then producer underscore thread dot start. All right, I'm calling the start method. Now I want the main thread to wait for the two of them to finish their task before exiting the program. So I will say consumer underscore thread dot join, calling the join method, producer underscore thread dot join, calling the join method. So this is my script. So this is my script. So what will happen? The moment I start this, the main thread will start the process. When it gets to this place, the main thread will start this consumer thread. So control will come to this consumer thread here. With this CV supplied to it, then it will come in. With CV, meaning obtaining the lock, it will go in and print consumer waiting. Now, once it prints this consumer waiting, it will call the wait method. So it will go into sleep. It will not print out this one. It will go into sleep. Then this producer, which is the producer thread, will have also started concurrently. This one, bringing in this global variable, is an indication that I want it to change the value. So it will obtain the lock, because this guy, once this guy goes into wait, it has released the lock. This one obtained the lock. Now, while obtaining the lock, nobody else can access that part of the code. So it will increment the counter. It will increment the counter and it will sum it up. So the counter will now be what? 15. Then it will notify, calling this notify method, that I'm done. So this guy now will wake up from his sleep, and then to print out the value of counter is what? Whatever the value of counter is. Now this counter, it will check it inside this local scope. It will not see it. Then it will come out to the global scope. It will see it and it will display the value, which is what? 15. So this one is going to display 15, right? So the two output will now be what? Consumer waiting, and the value of counter is 15. That is what this program is going to do. So you can see how these two threads communicate with each other using this condition mechanism, right? To communicate with each other in producing 15 items and then consuming the 15 items. If you have come with me this far, please don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget to share and like this video. You can equally follow me on my Facebook page. So let's go to the PyCharm and let me demonstrate this for you to see. This is our PyCharm. Now I have also written the script. Now this is the condition script that I have written. And I actually added something here. It's good. So that you will see how to access inside those classes and see the things that we are using. So this script here is just to show you the inside of this condition class, so that you will see the method that we are going to call. So this is what I demonstrated to you on the board, the counter, then the consumer. I have explained this part, and then you have the producer. I have also explained this. Now you are creating the two thread here, and then this is the condition object that we created. We are starting the thread, and then we are asking the main thread to wait for these two threads to finish their task. This place is just for you to see what is inside the condition. So I can, let me just comment this first. Let me comment this. It's not part of the script. All right. So I'm going to execute the script. Now you can see the script printed out consumer waiting, consumer waiting. Then the value of counter is 15. So while it was waiting, the counter was counting. The producer was producing. Now, producer produced and counted up to 15. Then it will now notify it, and then it will now print out the value of counter is what? Counter. So that's what we are saying. The consumer waiting, value of counter is 15. So this wait and this notify is what I want to show you. So when I remove this and I execute again, now you can see this thing. This last one here is just this line of code that printed it to for you to see the inside of this condition. Now let's scroll down. You will see the notify. This is the wait method that we are using. Then this is also the notify. The notify. So that's what I want to show you. If you run this script, if you come back here, now you are seeing consumer waiting, the value of counter is 15. So that's what I want to show you in this class. So if you like this class, don't forget to click on the like button. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so. So till we see in the next class, bye-bye.